Jonas didn't realize that morning when he stepped outside onto the porch that death was silently observing him from a distance. The wind was still, the birds were silent, and the earth seemed to hold its breath. The air was neither hot nor cold, but there was an unexplainable oddness to it, a vague feeling of strangeness that unsettled him. It was a sensation he couldn't quite identify. In the Limpopo Valley, located in eastern South Africa, mornings are usually full of life. The chirping of crickets, the cool morning breeze rustling through dry leaves, and the songs of birds in the distance, all part of the daily rhythm. But that morning, the rhythm was disrupted. It felt as if nature itself had decided to be quiet, as if a deep silence had taken over. Jonas stood in the middle of this silence, sipping his tea. He gazed at the vast savanna that he had worked to maintain for many years. As was his habit every morning, he stood and listened, waiting for the usual sounds of life to greet him. But this time, nothing. There were no sounds he recognized. Not the rustle of a reptile, nor the distant cry of a bird. All he could hear was his own breathing, and maybe the earth itself, which seemed to be breathing along with him. He left his hut, walking without his walking stick. There was something inside him pulling him forward, an urge he couldn't explain. It was as if he had to follow wherever the path would take him. The earth beneath his feet was firm but loose, giving way slightly with each step before settling again. It felt like nature's balance was disturbed yet somehow still intact. The path led him to a familiar clearing. He had seen zebra tracks in this area many times before, but this time, the tracks were different, deep, intricate, and in some places, nearly buried in the soil. Jonas bent down, pressing his finger into the damp earth. These tracks told a story. Something had moved through here in a hurry, but it was hard to tell exactly what. It was large, moving stealthily, slowly. Just as he was about to turn around, Jonas felt a sudden weight press on his left leg. He attempted to twist away, but it was too late. He was yanked to the ground by a hard, slippery grip. As he fell, his head struck a stone ledge lightly, but he remained conscious. Looking up, he saw that the sky was still. The clouds were gray, but unmoving, as if time itself had paused. Jonas tried to move, but the pressure around his waist made it hard to breathe. His body slowly became numb. Everything around him faded. The earth, the sky, the trees. Everything was quiet. Even nature seemed to be holding its breath. Jonas could hear his own heartbeat as a whisper of a voice passed through his mind. Is this the end? Suddenly, there was another sound, a faint crunch coming from the upper right corner. Then, another shift in the grass. The snakes noticed it. Their muscles tensed. Jonas could feel them moving away from him. He was no longer the only threat. A heavy presence was approaching, its steps echoing in the earth beneath him. Jonas couldn't see it, but he could feel it in his heart. Something was coming, and it was determined to break the silence of nature. Jonas lay still as the weight pressed around his body, draining almost all his strength. The first snake coiled around his ankle, squeezing relentlessly. The second snake wrapped tightly around his waist, holding him steady. The third wound itself around his chest and neck, making it harder to breathe. His breathing grew shallow, his vision blurred, but his mind stayed clear. Survival instincts kicked in, urging him to resist. Time seemed to stretch. The only movements were the twitching of the snakes and the crushing pressure around Jonas. The clouds hung motionless and not a sound could be heard. It was as if the universe had fallen silent. Then, from the dry grass near his right shoulder, a stirring began. It wasn't the movement of a regular animal. Jonas couldn't yet see it, but he could hear it. The pressure of each step on the ground, the crunch of dried grass and leaves. Alone, they wouldn't have been alarming, but together they hinted at something much bigger. The danger was growing, and now the snakes sensed it too. A cloud of dust rose at the edge of his vision, and from it, a figure slowly emerged. A muscular silhouette with a heavy and balanced gait, its head slightly lowered and eyes focused on the target. The figure's gaze was determined, shadows under its eyes, but its purpose was clear. Then, the lion appeared. It didn't roar. It didn't bare its teeth, but its presence alone changed the balance of the forest. It was as if nature began to breathe again with it. Its paws were planted firmly on the ground, muscles taut. Its eyes never turned to Jonas. It only focused on the threat ahead. One of the pythons attempted to retreat, but it was too late. The lion lunged forward, its claws slicing through the air. At that moment, Jonas thought, "Is this animal here to save me, or is this the start of another end?" The earth shook as the lion landed, all its muscles coiled. It grabbed the nearest snake with its front paw and pressed it to the ground. The snake twisted and struggled, but the lion's claw was like a nail driven into the earth. It could not move. Within moments, the first snake was neutralized. The second snake, still wrapped around Jonas's waist, became the lion's next target. Lowering its head slightly, the lion dug in with its hind legs, then leapt. Its claws struck the snake's body, sending it flying. But this time the snake fought back. It lunged toward the lion, aiming for its neck. A brutal battle ensued in the dry grass, claws, bodies, and dust tangled together. Jonas, still on the ground, half conscious but able to breathe now, watched the fight through blurred vision. For the first time in his life, he felt helpless yet, grateful for the creature fighting for him. But the third snake remained, tightening around his chest, squeezing the last of his breath out. The lion repositioned. After a moment's hesitation, it changed direction, stepping toward Jonas. With its massive body, it stepped on the snake. The python tried to wriggle free but couldn't. Jonas inhaled deeply. His chest expanded, and air filled his lungs. He was alive. But then, everything shifted again. As the lion stepped back, the two remaining snakes attacked simultaneously. One coiled around the lion's neck, the other around its torso. This time, the lion struggled. It tried to strike with its claws, sink its teeth into them. But the snakes were relentless. They squeezed harder, their grip tightening with every movement. The lion's strength began to wane. Suddenly, the forest fell completely silent, and then a final roar echoed through the land. It was deep, ferocious, and heart-piercing. The roar resonated through every corner of the forest. The wind changed direction for a brief moment. Jonas, shaking, managed to sit up. He crawled toward the lion. Their eyes met, and in that single moment, time froze. They didn't speak, but that look between them conveyed everything. The lion slowly sank to the ground, its neck bowing. It rested its head on the earth, blood seeping from its fur. Its breathing slowed, and then it stopped. The snakes retreated, slithering back into the shadows of the forest. They too understood what had just happened. Jonas knelt by the lion, touching its warm fur. A heavy weight settled in his chest. This wasn't just salvation, it was something more. A silent sacrifice. Heroism in the face of death. Hours passed, and Jonas sat by the lion, silent. He didn't speak. He didn't cry. Some emotions, some farewells, don't need words. As the sky shifted from golden to dusk, the wind began to blow again, and the birds resumed their songs. The forest had accepted what had happened. But Jonas knew the silent hero, that lion, was now part of the land. When Jonas returned, he carried not only the scars of battle, but the quiet heroism of the lion. It was a story written in nature's language. And now the question remains, was this lion just an ordinary animal, or was it much more than that? If this story moved you, please like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful tales.